Shalom. First and foremost, giving all praises, honor, glory, respect, and blessings to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rachak Kwadash. Salutations to the Lord's elect on the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth and sincerity while patiently waiting for Yahweh Shai's return. And double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, which have taught us everything we know through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. And welcome to another series of It's Going Down, being brought to you by the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. British farmers warn of looming UK food supply crisis amid global volatility. As you can see right here, large empty shelf. And actually I'm starting to see that at my grocery store. So the Lord is bringing this famine. Okay? This truth is not a joke, man. Okay? The grocery stores around here are starting the shelves on the grocery stores around here are starting to get empty. I'm starting not to see things on the food shelf that I normally would see. So that is an indication that the last bit of food here in America is being used up. Now who knows how long it may take for the food shelves to be empty, you know. Maybe Lord's will, we don't have a couple of months. I'm not thinking that far down the line, but I'm just calculating here because of how big America is, you know. So, they got something over there called Cathedral City, you know, which the Lord is not dealing with cathedral, but there's no telling when this famine or food crisis could suddenly occur. So here it says, while the government insists that the UK is almost self-sufficient for many foodstuffs, critics point out that the production relies on imports of fertilizer and animal feed, which have been disrupted during the conflict in Ukraine. And the conflict in Ukraine has nothing to do with the fertilizer imports or the animal feed. Ukraine is just a smokescreen for what the so-called elites are really doing. So it says, the head of the UK's, remember, this famine is systematically being brought by the so-called elites, of which the Heavenly Father Yahweh and his son Yahweh Shai is using on the left-hand side to issue in this famine. So it really falls back to the so-called elites. They're the ones that's causing this famine, and they're using Ukraine as a scapegoat for the famine which they are causing globally. The head of the UK Farming Union has warned a shortage of eggs could just be the start of a long-term food supply problems. Now, you know, if there's a shortage of eggs, they're going to raise the prices on eggs to preserve them. And once somebody with enough money buy those eggs, then what? You're not going to see those eggs on the shelf anymore. And that's what you're seeing up here. Okay? That's what you're seeing up here. So, National Farmers Union NFU President Minette Batters told British state media that soaring fuel, fertilizer, and animal feed costs could jeopardize production. Indeed, shoppers up and down the country have for decades had a guaranteed supply of high-quality, affordable food produced to some of the highest animal welfare, environmental, and food safety standards in the world, she said. It says, but British food is under threat at the time when global volatility is threatening the stability of the world's food production. Food security and energy security batters added warning, I fear that the country is sleepwalking into further food supply crisis, with the future of British fruit and vegetable supplies in trouble. Okay, so eggs have become scarce in some shops due to worldwide pandemic of the avian FLU, with outbreaks of poultry farms leading to culls of millions of birds. You see that, man? But you know what? Let the devil do what he do, man. And you know what they mean by cull? It means that they killed millions of birds under the pretense of there being a bird flu. So, hey, man, this famine is coming, and it's systematically being done. But the NFU said the cost of producing milk could soon exceed market price, while beef farmers could reduce the size of their herds of cattle. Yep, that's clearly Yahweh, though. You know, that's Yahweh, the Heavenly Father, through His Son Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. They're the ones doing this, but they're using the so-called elites to issue in this famine. Okay, they're using the so-called elites to issue in this famine. It also warned that production of energy-intensive crops such as cucumbers, tomatoes, and pears could suffer due to soaring fuel and utility bill costs. The government insisted that the UK had highly resistant food supply chain. So, over 100 Dutch farmers arrested for disruptive protest. So, without your farmers, how are they going to grow your crops? But, hey, man, beautiful. Call halayim la alahayanawa Yahweh ba'ashem Yahushai ba'ashem Rakha Kodash. Now let's get some scriptures. Let's start with Ezekiel chapter 5 verse 16. Okay. Ezekiel chapter 5 verse 16. Man, I was going to study the book of Daniel, the 11th chapter today, but I ended up studying something else. So that's fine, though. That's fine. Ezekiel 5 verse 16. When I shall send upon them, upon who? Well, the world. I mean, now during this time when Ezekiel had wrote this, the Lord was referring to the Israelites, which are the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native Indians. But in this time and age, this applies to the whole world. So the Lord said that He will send upon the whole world the evil arrows of famine. Okay, and what do you see every time you look at the news? You see global food crisis. This country is going through energy costs. Food prices are going up here. The cost of living is going up here. So the Lord is sending the evil arrows of famine, which shall be for their destruction, for the destruction of who? The 2/3 of our people, as well as you heathens, in which I will send to destroy you, and I will increase the famine upon you. You see that? The Lord said He will increase the famine upon us, right? So what happened? The Heavenly Father Yahweh and His Son Yahushua, they allowed these devils to kill millions of chicken and turkeys. Millions. They have killed millions of chickens and turkeys. So you want to know why the price on eggs are going up? Well, here you go. Millions of chickens and turkeys are being killed off under the pretense of there being a flu. Okay? So, I mean, because in order for these devils, when I say the devil, I'm talking about the Edomites, which is the so-called white man, starting with the so-called elites, trickling down to the rest of their nation, the people. Whenever these devils, you know, but before they can justify themselves and doing some kind of wickedness, they have to come up with an excuse to it. So their excuse for killing off millions of birds is bird flu. The bird flu. We gotta kill off these birds. We can't have people eating this. They might get sick. So under the pretense of there being a bird flu, it justifies them killing off millions of birds. And nobody's out there protesting about this shit, you know. But here it is, you out there protesting over energy costs. You're protesting over gas crisis. You're protesting because you're cold, you're freezing, you're mad, you're losing, you're upset, you're confused, you don't even know what the fuck is going on. Meanwhile, they're killing off your food supply. Why don't you protest about that? Talking about these heathens. Because the elect is not going to be out there protesting. Talking about you heathens. Well, yeah, y'all busy protesting over this, that, fourth, and the other. Why don't y'all protest over the fact that they're killing off millions of your chickens and turkeys under the pretense of there being a bird flu? A lot of you're not going to protest over that because you're so simple and open-minded. Your mind is so ambiguous. Your mind is so ambiguous to everything that's being told you that you literally believe everything. Okay? Your mind is so ambiguous that anything they tell you, you run with it. You accept it instead of researching and looking into it. Meanwhile, while they're busy killing off millions of your birds, they're arresting hundreds of farmers. But nobody wants to question why these things are happening. So you people out there, you're fucking stupid. And you're slow. You're protesting over the wrong things. Yeah, I mean, energy costs is important. The cost of living is important. But you got to look at the source of what's causing these things. So it says, and I will increase the famine upon you and will break your staff of bread. What did the Lord mean by will break your staff of bread? Your staff of bread is the main source of where your food comes from. What are some of the places of where your food comes from before they reach your grocery store? Well, let's observe. Let's see. There's these different food factories where the people that work there are responsible for processing, packaging your food, and then putting them in boxes so they can be put on the back of food trucks. You see? So, in case if you didn't notice, the so-called elites, the head of the Illuminati, through the Illuminati, by these different governments, have been hiring agents to go around and literally burn down these food factories, and then they get driven out of there. So they'll literally burn down these food factories, and just like that, you have one less factory that processes your food. Now, the last time I checked, they said there was over 23 different food factories that have been burned down, and that's here in America alone. 23 different food factories that have been burned down in such a short time span. I'm talking about within about 2 years. So these devils have been at work. Now, the other source of where your food comes from is these different farms. Okay? Who do you think is paying these farmers to kill off their crops, destroy their crops, kill off these chickens and turkeys? The governments are doing it. And for the greed and lust of money, these farmers are literally doing those things. Okay? They're paying these farmers millions of dollars just to destroy their crops and buy up their farmlands. And guess what? When these farmers decide to relocate and stop farming, that they move somewhere out and they're basically set for life. So guess who's buying up these farmlands? Bill Gates. Why do you think Bill Gates is buying up these farmlands? Which Bill Gates also has ties to Monsanto. Let me remind you that. Why do you think Bill Gates is buying up these farmlands? Because in a moment when there's a food crisis, they want the government to ration out the food to you. And guess what? The only way you're getting food in that day is if you take the JAB and the CHIP. If you do not take those, you're going to starve, you and your family. So in those days, you're going to have to make a tough choice. And guess what? If you take the CHIP, which is the MOTB, you're going to be destroyed. The Lord is not going to have mercy on you. And I'm talking to you Israelites. If you're an Israelite, which will be a so-called Negro, Latino, and Native Indian, and you take the CHIP, the Lord will not have mercy on you. You will be destroyed. And if you take the JAB, guess what? You're basically setting yourself up for destruction, because at that point you've cut off your pineal. You basically allowed them to shut off your pineal gland. Okay? You allowed them to shut off your pineal gland, which your pineal gland that's your antenna, your connection to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahweh Shai. So once your connection has been cut off from the Heavenly Father and the Son, guess what? Whenever you pray to them, they're not going to hear you. Okay, they're not going to hear you. So all these farmlands, they're being bought up by the government, and these farmers, they're being paid to destroy their crops and kill off their chickens and turkeys and other animals. So the staff of bread around the world is literally being destroyed. And these things are not just happening in America. It's happening in Europe. It's happening in other parts of the world. Okay? I believe down in Brazil it's happening too. Second Esdras, chapter 15, verse 5. So just a moment here, let my laptop actually figure out what's going on here. So second Esdras, chapter 15, verse 5. Behold, saith the Lord, Yahweh, Bashem, Yahweh Shai, I will bring plagues upon the world. Let's see what kind of plagues the Lord is going to bring upon the world. The sword, famine, death, and destruction. So the Lord said that He will bring famine upon the world. And He's using the left-hand side to do so. You know what else is causing these famines? These droughts. Okay? We got the Mississippi River that's drying up. The Ohio River's drying up. Okay? The Lord's literally causing a drought. When there's a drought, your plants don't grow. Your crops don't grow. Okay? A drought is when there's a lack of rain. And when there's a lack of rain, well, every living thing needs water in order to live. Okay, rather if you believe it or not, food is a living organism. Rather if you kill an animal and you take out, you cut out its flesh and you cook it. I'm not saying there's blood in it, but it's still a living thing. Well, no, I take that back. I take that back. No, scratch that. No, but the animal, the animal that's drinking water, the animals that's drinking water, the living animals, they need water in order to survive. Plants, herbs, those are living organisms. Okay, they need water in order to grow. Okay? Plants need water to survive. Birds need water to survive. Beasts need water to survive. People need water to survive. So, without rainwater, the crops will die off. One moment. So the Lord said he would bring famine upon the world. Why do you think they're talking about a global food crisis? Okay. Why do you think they're talking about a global food crisis? Let's go to Matthew chapter 24, verse 7. For wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Matthew 24, verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places. Verse 8. All these are the beginning of sorrows. So these are the words of Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. He said there would be famines in diverse places. A famine is a shortage of food and a shortage of water. So there will be famines in diverse places. So that's happening now. These are prophecies that are happening now. So with that, I'm going to say, Shalom is on to the next one.